Hello and welcome to today's episode number 8 of the Human Condition Podcast. I'm your host, American Council on Exercise Certified Personal Trainer, Kiri Jones. Today's episode, we're going to cover the most recent blog about miracle water, and then I'm going to address something that keeps coming up in terms of my recommendations or other people's questions on things they should buy to help them on their health and fitness journey. So first, miracle water. I'm sure that if you are anywhere along on your health and fitness journey, your algorithm has tweaked itself and has occasionally shown you ads that feature animated images of like a shrinking belly or somebody drinking water and losing weight. And it says if you add just this ingredient to your water, it'll help you burn fat or specifically burn belly fat. And these range from chia seeds, lemons, cucumbers, blueberries. I've seen so many. And there's even the worse ads, which don't tell you what the ingredient is. They just make you click on the ad. And then you have to go to this convoluted website where they want you to put in a bunch of information because they swear they're going to help you lose weight. And I'm going to tell you something that's probably going to suck to hear, but that's not true. Adding an ingredient to your water is not directly going to make you burn fat. And even more so, it will definitely not help you burn belly fat. Targeted fat loss is a myth. You cannot decide where your body will draw its energy stores from when it is trying to burn fat. The key thing when it comes to water is making sure that you're hydrated. And being appropriately hydrated could be a set amount of ounces or ounces per pound of body fat, or body weight, certain amounts of cups of water a day or liters. There's a lot of different things you'll find out there if you research it, but really what it is just pick one and find a way to track it and find a way to stick with it. Properly hydrating your body helps with so many things, to include digestion. It helps with your skin health. It helps with your organ functions. And then the secondary benefit of helping with your organs functioning is that you'll be able to more appropriately regulate your hormones and your body chemicals. And those are very key in your health and fitness journey. The flip side of what happens if you're not hydrated enough is dehydration, which can either be a singular day, you're just dehydrated, or it can be chronic dehydration. And what comes with dehydration is there's the obvious, like your mouth is dry, you might feel a little sluggish, but for longer periods of dehydration, you can end up with headaches, you can be fatigued, it can mess with your blood pressure, mess up your digestion. And just like there are secondary benefits with being hydrated, there are also secondary effects of being dehydrated, such as your system's becoming dysregulated, which will negatively impact your progress towards your goal. So make sure that you're drinking enough water. And I've heard the joke before, if I drink coffee, there's water in that, right? Well, sure, there's water that is being used to make your coffee, but caffeine in and of itself is a diuretic, which kind of combats the effects of the water that you might have ingested from your coffee. Make sure that you're drinking water. And I'm not saying don't add things to your water. I'm not saying that at all. If adding lemons or cucumbers or blueberries or whatever to your water helps it be more palatable and helps you drink more water, then by all means do that. But adding these things to your water with the thought that it's going to help you burn fat is simply just not the truth. And as I've said before, what ends up happening if you see these things is you'll try it, and if it doesn't work for you, instead of outwardly understanding or realizing that this is flawed information or incorrect information, we tend to look inwardly and wonder, where did we mess up? What did we do wrong? Or what is wrong with our body that makes it so this thing that's been shown to you isn't working for you? I can say that however much water you're drinking, unless you're tracking it and you're probably not drinking enough. And I say this because I don't drink enough water. I know that I don't drink enough water because I carry a big jug around me all day from room to room in my house because I'm a stay-at-home parent. And at the end of the day, I'm usually frustrated by the amount of water that's still left in it. So I need to get better about that. But yeah, the blog itself was short because I don't have to say a lot of words to say something very simple. Adding something to your water is not going to help you burn belly fat. So, short rant on a short blog. The next thing that I want to talk about, and this might end up becoming kind of a rant, is something that's been brought up to me, whether it's questions or people want it to be spoken about, or people are asking for recommendations, and that's on things to buy that will help them with their health and fitness journey, no matter what it is, muscle growth, weight loss, weight gain, just general health. There are so many things out there available for purchase, and we'll stick with two major ones, and that's supplements and equipment. Supplements, I know that I have spoken about on previous episodes, but given the frequency at which people ask me about this, I think it bears speaking about again. Supplements are marketed to people, and marketing preys on vulnerabilities. And what I will say, does is it takes advantage of the lack of general education that is being offered in health and fitness spaces. It's become this amalgamation of colorful labels and catchphrases and cool names or whatever that has ingratiated itself with health and fitness education, which I disagree with on a fundamental level. I take supplements, but these are supplements that I have heavily researched. I have compared them to the knowledge that I already possess. I have followed the data. I know how it makes me feel physically versus when I do and don't take it. And none of the supplements that I take carry with it a potential for negative side effects. This is different from past me. Past me used to spend hundreds of dollars on supplements a month, and I'm not even joking. One of the supplements that I took was a fat burner, and I would take it, and 45 minutes later, my nose would be running, my heart rate would be through the roof, hands shaking, profusely sweating, and I felt like garbage. But because I was having all of these really obvious effects, I assumed that it was working, so I kept taking it. This was around the time when, if you've listened to my introductory episode, I had swung wildly in the wrong direction to where I was too skinny. I had lost a lot of muscle definition. The weight that I was losing was not all fat. It was not healthy. It was not sustainable. And that was when I had decided to educate myself on everything to do with health and fitness. And it's an ongoing process. I'm still learning. I love learning about it, but that's me, and that's not the general public. So when I get asked these questions about supplements, I get very passionate about it. The biggest thing that I will say is that you are not required to take supplements to reach your health and fitness goals. Again, you are not required to take supplements to reach your health and fitness goals. It has become such an issue to where things are popular and very highly covered on social media and spoken about, that if you're a person who is just starting out or you're desperate for an answer because you've plateaued or you've been struggling with weight loss, it looks like the logical next step. The problem is, and I've said this before, these are not FDA regulated. They are not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, which means they have more flexibility on what they do and don't show on their labels. And there are so many that it is extremely difficult and very costly to try to test and research the efficacy of each and every one of them. So what the FDA has is something called GRAS, or GRAS, however you want to say it, which is generally recognized as safe. And these, there's a list, but on it there are things like creatine or whey protein. These are things that over a long-term period of use do not show excessive negative side effects. And the caveat to that is these are researched as their individual compound. So like whey protein or creatine as a compound. And that is not even including everything else that gets put in supplements. So understand that although there are things that the FDA recognizes as safe for consumption and use, it may be mixed in with things that are not or are not regulated. So it's important to do your own research, because research is your own research, and in terms of like you looking up the information on its effects or how it might affect you, or whether you should be taking it based on medications you're on or certain things. Learning these things helps you take onus on your own journey, which makes it more sustainable in the long run. So do your research. If you see something that you're curious about taking, make sure that you are looking at not only the reviews of the product, but also trying to find whether or not these are lab tested or whether or not research exists on its use and positive or negative impacts. Because what I can tell you is fat burners, again, with targeted fat loss, is a fat burner increases your body's thermogenesis synthetically. And I don't know what the long-term effects are in using a fat burner, but what I do know is that it has a profound impact acutely, like as soon as you take it, that it will jack up your heart rate. And it does, you don't know what it's doing to the muscle of your heart. You don't know what it's doing to your arteries. You don't know what it's doing to your kidneys and livers. And that's fat burners alone, but there are so many other things that you could be buying and spending your money on and taking that in the long run are actually hurting you. And it's really a mental thing to take the supplements because it looked like it worked for somebody else. But I encourage you to do as best you can to get your micronutrients through diet. With that being said, I have tried to get all of my grams of protein in through just eating them alone, and it's really difficult. So it's not going to hurt you to find a protein supplement that you like taking and that is also not one of those flashy whatever. Like you need to make sure that, again, you do your research. Make sure it doesn't have a bunch of extra junk in it. Make sure it's not like, I don't know. There's a lot of factors involved with doing your own research, and I'm sure you'll be able to stumble across some information that will be helpful for you. But again, it's not going to hurt you to take a protein supplement, just to make sure that you're getting the appropriate amount of protein in that will be helpful towards reaching your fitness goals, because protein is extremely important in the body. So again, I'm not outright telling you not to take supplements. It's not my decision to make. I cannot tell you to take supplements. I cannot recommend supplements to you because I'm not allowed to, and B, I just wouldn't, because I've been there. I've wasted the money. I've jumped through hoops. I've done all of the things, and it's not necessary. That's not to say that some of them don't work, or that some companies aren't trying really hard to be transparent and clean label and all that stuff. It's just, unfortunately, the way that things are being marketed and sold to people is not. I don't know why I'm trying to be careful with my words. It's not like I'm not sponsored by anybody, so just be careful. The other aspect of it, the mental aspect, is, and I was guilty of this back in the day, some people rely on these supplements to help continue to push them along on their journey, which is, I mean, it's fine if it's helping you, if it's a net positive, but what you got to realize is you're spending the money on this and it's not necessary. If you can find a way to inwardly keep pushing yourself without spending the money, that's better in the long run. I'll give you an example. Back in the day when I used to take pre-workout before exercising, I would feel like when I ran out of pre-workout and I didn't have any more, I would feel like, oh, well, I don't have pre-workout, I can't work out today, which in hindsight to me is such a silly thought. But I had the thought. It was a legitimate feeling that I had at the time because I had relied on taking this pre-workout to synthetically get the energy to just do a workout. And I wasn't even doing anything that strenuous. I mean, yes, I was deadlifting and squatting and all that stuff, but like it shouldn't have required, 300 milligrams of caffeine to the face. So just be cautious of maybe leaning on supplements a little too hard if you are already taking them. And along with that comes purchasing of new equipment or things that are recommended that will help you exercise. All you need, is body weight. Because you can complicate body weight in ways that you would think were impossible. But even if you want to graduate from strictly body weight, a few dumbbells, maybe resistance bands that might help you with like stretching or certain isolation exercises. But there are so many things that are marketed to people as answers to what they're looking for. And it's almost as if, no, it's not almost as if, the whole purpose of these industries is to get money. They're hoping that if they make you believe hard enough that that's what you need, then you're going to spend your money on it. If you cannot figure out what the need is that will be met with your body, if you can't figure out what a piece of equipment is for, how to use it, what this supplement will do for you in the long run, if there are questions that you have about these things, you should answer those questions before you spend the money on it. And again, the reason that I'm talking about this is because I used to do that. And this is embarrassing to admit, bought a shake weight when they came out. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but the craze behind it was what swept me up into it and why I spent the money on it. And now I look at things very objectively. I have to know how it will benefit me, both in terms of my health and then my physical fitness, before I will spend the money on it. Side note to that, unless it is something that I am purchasing for review purposes. A couple months ago, I had bought one of those hydrogen water bottles, the cheap ones on Amazon, and I really should do a review on it, but I don't, that's not what this episode is about. It's not a review on something. So, yeah, I hope that this section of the podcast does well in answering what I get asked a lot about in terms of my recommendations or things that people should use or buy to help them. You should really focus on the absolute basics. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Make sure that you're drinking enough water. Make sure that you have some consistency behind your exercise, meaning like once a week is not enough, or you do 3 days a week, 1 week, and then 1 day the next week. Consistency. Your nutrition. Do the research. Know what foods are good for you. Know what foods are bad for you. Learn how to read a food label. And then measure your calories in and calories out, and then progress from there. But start with the bare minimum, because once you start adding complicated layer after complicated layer after purchase after purchase after purchase, it stops becoming sustainable and it stops becoming real solid change for you. I can't really say much more than that. If you heard something that you wanted me to expand upon, if you want to hear something else in the podcast, if you want me to cover something else in a blog and a podcast, if you just want to say hi, Facebook, Instagram, email, my website, comments, and everything, including, this is on YouTube, Amazon Music, and Spotify. With that being said, I do have a TikTok, but here's the thing. I have gotten myself swept up in the whole internet social media aspect of it, to where I was trying to create content so often, and it's not sustainable for me, and it's making me lose focus on my original intended purpose. I don't want to become an influencer. I want to be an educator. I want to be a health and fitness coach. So I'm going to really, really cut back on the content that I'm putting out. I'll still do the blogs every other Friday, the podcasts every opposite Friday of those. Terminology Tuesday on Facebook and Instagram, I feel like is beneficial for people, because some people are just embarrassed to ask what this means, or they don't think to look it up. So here, I'm just going to give it to you. I'm probably going to delete my TikTok account because I don't even get that many views on there anyway, but yeah, I want to cut back before I escalate too far, in order to ensure that I'm sticking with the purpose, the whole initial purpose of me starting this. So I will make content as it is requested, as I am finding out about it. Eventually, I'll do some reviews on some books or products that I buy, or maybe something that I use that's been helpful to me, but I'm not going to create content for the sake of creating content. I'm not trying to flood the social media sphere so that I get views, because it's not about the views. The person who is in need of this information will find the information when it shows itself to them, but I'm not going to be ramming myself down the internet's throat anymore, because it's just not sustainable, and it's not, it doesn't make me happy to do so. So I don't want to, already in the infancy of my business, make myself miserable with it. So I'm gonna be cutting back on the content. There's a little technical error, I think, between posting my post on Facebook and Instagram. Like, they're posting on one and not the other. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. So yeah, with all of that being said, I guess there's nothing else to say for this episode. So until next time.